as we can see, Democrats performed poorly when it came to congressional races and Senate races. And so MSNBC had a grand old time having the types of vapid election discussions that you could expect it to have with a former failed Missouri Senator, Claire McCaskill, sharing her 2 cents. Let's hear what she had to say.
The Republican Party, I think, very adroitly adopted cultural issues as part of their main theme, whether you're talking guns or issues surrounding the right to abortion in this country, or things like gay marriage and the right for transsexuals and other people who we as a party have tried to, quote unquote, look after and make sure that they're treated fairly. As we circled those issues, we left some voters behind, and Republicans dove in with a vengeance and grabbed those voters. And you've seen this shift. You saw it in the South. I've seen it in the rural areas of my state. So we've got to get back to the meat and potatoes issues. We've got to get back to the issues where we are taking care of their families. And we also need to quit acting like we're smarter than everybody else, because we're not.
Well, at least she was honest in the very tail end of that statement where she says we're not smarter than anyone else. What I don't understand about her messaging there is she begins by talking about how Democrats need to focus on the culture war issues because they supposedly abandoned those issues. That's all the Democratic Party really seems to focus on, because it allows them to neglect the actual meat and potatoes issues that impact people's finances on a daily basis. So I don't know where she's going with that. I mean, she mentioned anti-abortion people. I mean, she mentioned the pro-gun agenda. So is she saying that Democrats need to move even further to the right and compete with Republicans on bringing in those voters? Really? Okay.
That's definitely what she said.
And one thing, I just want to remind everyone of how terrible Claire McCaskill is and why she lost her Senate race in Missouri. Here's a little reminder from Huffington Post. This headline really does summarize what her strategy is. Democrat Claire McCaskill clings to Trump on border security in bid to save her seat. So apparently moving further to the right in her Senate race certainly didn't help her. And I think AOC said it best when she tweeted this: "Why do we listen to people who lost elections as if they're experts in winning elections? McCaskill tried her approach. She ran as a caravan hysteria Dem and lost, while grassroots organizers won progressive measures in Missouri." Her language here shows how she took her base for granted.
So let me give even more context to that. So Claire McCaskill lost handily in that race in 2018 to keep her Senate seat in Missouri. On that same election night, in that same state, they had a ballot measure for increasing the minimum wage. It won with 62% of the vote. Crushed, absolutely crushed. So Claire McCaskill ran to the right and towards Republicans. Oh, please, I love border walls too. And all the voters who like border walls voted for the Republican. Why would they vote for the Democrat who's Johnny come lately trying to tell them about how they like border walls? They don't believe you, and if they like border walls, they vote for the other guy. He's 1,000% in favor of it. Instead, she could not get people to come out and vote for her that wanted to increase the minimum wage. If she had adopted that progressive stance, she had a shot at getting 62% of the voters. Imagine if she had said the entire campaign, I'm for higher wages, he's for lower wages. I'm for higher wages, he's for lower wages. Already 62% of the state apparently agreed with her, and she never even made that case. Imagine if she adopted that case. Nope. I don't want to win. I just want to go in this direction. So why? Is it that she actually doesn't want to win? No. It's that she thinks, and almost every major Democrat in Washington thinks, there's only one key to winning: pleasing the donors. If you have more money, then you're going to win the election. By the way, did she have more money than Josh Hawley? A ton more. I think she outraised him by nearly 3 to 1. So what happened? You kissed all of the donors' asses, not allowed on other media. You can't say the obvious truth about Claire McCaskill. And so after you tried to curry favor with the donors and you got all those, I think she raised like over $30 million. You got all their money, and you spent it trying to be a Republican, and they voted for the Republican. I mean, if that's not the definition of stupid, all right, I know you're not allowed to say things like that. That is very wrong. You have to pretend that Claire McCaskill is smart, respected. Why? MSNBC sees how she absolutely bungled that race And her losing strategy was to go further right wing, and they're like, love it, we're here for it. They hired her and gave her a giant salary to come spout this nonsense on television. And MSNBC in Washington world is considered the progressive channel. Oh, come on. All right, we got more on that in a second. But I can't let Claire McCaskill go, that clip go without noting. So what are we supposed to do, Claire? We're supposed to abandon the LGBT community. We're supposed to abandon our core voters, and by the way, our fellow Americans. I mean, look at how, even if you thought it was a smart political strategy, which she single-handedly proved it wasn't, but even if you thought it was, so we're supposed to be so callous and immoral and say, we don't care about black people, we don't care about minorities, we don't care about gay people, we don't care about any of those communities. Let's go back to guns. I mean, my God, she mentioned abortion. What do you want us to do? That is the epitome of how both deeply immoral and unintelligent they are. The country is 70% pro-choice. She's like, let's run towards the 30%. If I don't call her stupid, I wouldn't be doing my job. I would be being dishonest with you. I wouldn't be delivering the actual news to you. How do you think that because now she's not even talking about Missouri. She's talking about the national election. How do you think running towards 30% instead of 70%, and at 30% that the Republican Party has 100% locked up? You think they're gonna vote for Democrats? How, come on, how could anybody be that stupid? They pay her tons and tons of money to do propaganda like that, not on Fox News, not on CNN, but on MSNBC. But now the immoral part. So all the women out there, by the way, a majority of voters, and Biden won a majority of women, Trump won a slight majority of men. Her brilliant political strategy is, let's betray all of our female voters and all the women in this country, and let's run towards an anti-choice ideology.
No, there's more. The Democratic Party is in for a world of trouble because they have latched on to culture war issues in an effort to avoid talking about meat and potatoes. I think that that's just demonstrably true. And look, honestly, in this election, the general election, we've seen an increase in black men who have voted for Donald Trump, 18%, and even black women who have voted for Trump, 8%. Because the Democratic Party loves to pretend like they're gonna do something for minorities, for the black community, but over and over again, they have taken that vote for granted. And I think it's really starting to hurt them now. I mean, you're talking about Joe Biden, who has locked away an entire generation of black men with the crime bill. And then honestly, on the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who has incredibly racist rhetoric. There's no question about that. But he can very successfully use the talking point of how he did criminal justice reform. Now, at the same time, since the Democrats have focused so much on the culture war issues, you should keep in mind that this statement from Abigail Spanberger is gonna be an interesting foreshadowing of how Democrats are gonna campaign moving forward. Here's what Spanberger had to say on the Democratic caucus call. She said, "We lost races we shouldn't have lost. So far, so good, I agree. But here's her takeaway. Defund police almost cost me my race because of an attack ad. Don't say socialism ever again. Need to get back to the basics." And apparently she was yelling on the call. That is her takeaway from this election.
Yeah, okay, and so why are we the only ones saying obvious things? Why isn't anyone else on cable news, New York Times, Washington Post, you name it? Why aren't they saying things like, wait, Claire McCaskill, you lost your race by 6 points when you could have won it apparently by a giant margin on issues like minimum wage, and there's many more where that came from. No, they think they could present her as a goddess of political wisdom. And then on Spanberger, et cetera. So they tell us, no, you have to unify with her position. And if you don't, you're hurting unity within the Democratic Party and you're hurting the Democratic Party. Wait a minute, why do we have to unify around her right-wing positions within the Democratic Party? Why shouldn't she unify around our positions, the progressive positions within the party that's supposed to be progressive? And she says, well, my political acumen tells me that that going right wing helps us win. Well, that's not remotely true. We have the facts to prove it. You lost 1,000 seats with that strategy during the Obama years. So there's no political reality to that. I keep coming back to the media, guys, because remember CNN put her in a group of, they created a squad that doesn't exist. And they said, oh, okay, they're now the kick-ass squad. And they celebrated them. The actual just Democrats, no good. But they're kick-ass squad. They want to go right wing. Yes, Democratic Party, you want to go right wing. And the other problem with it is a giant long-term problem. When you rhetorically agree with the Republican Party for the last 20 to 40 years, guess what happens? The country starts to believe the Republican Party is right, whether they actually are or not. So after you lose an election where you didn't make your own case, again, Florida's a perfect example. Joe Biden loses it by 3 points, minimum wage ballot measure wins by 22 points. You didn't make your own case and you lost Florida because of it. They turn around and go, no, we should have gone more right wing. And I'm supposed to unify around that? No deal, no deal, no deal at all. If Spanberger and the corporate Democrats want to go join their Republican buddies, have at it, Hoss. I'm not unifying around positions I don't agree with, that I think is toxic, and that I think helps the Republican Party. Isn't it amazing that the media never says that the party on the left should unite around positions on the left? They all insist that we must unify the Democratic Party around right-wing positions, and don't even notice the irony. So it's not just Trump world. Mainstream media and corporate Democrats also live in an alternative reality with alternative facts.
I mean, isn't that what we got in this race between Biden and Trump? I mean, Biden, with the assistance from the Lincoln Project, made sure to, when it was convenient, mention the $15 minimum wage. But the majority of his messaging had to do with, I'm gonna unite the country. Yes, these QAnon lunatics are terrifying, but it's okay. Yes, these people are trying to steal the election and claim that there's election fraud, or they're trying to dismantle the post office. These people are awful, but I'm here to unite the country. And look, I have to be honest with you, the moralizing that happens with the Democratic Party is not appealing to anyone. Tisk tisk, we must be better than this. We go high when they go low. That messaging is not appealing. What people want right now is not to be judged based on what their behavior is. They want to be able to feed their families. And so get rid of the labels, right? They're obsessed with the word socialism. Just talk about the need for healthcare. That is an incredibly popular topic. Talk about the need for a living wage. But they're unwilling to do it because the donor class doesn't want it. The fine people over at the Lincoln Project don't want it. And so Biden, listening to them, taking their advice and having a moderate centrist message has led to this insanely close election, which is terrifying. But at the same time, the takeaway from Democrats has been, no, it's just that we move too far to the left. We need to move further to the right. And by the way, I'm not the only one saying that the Lincoln Project had a lot of influence on the Biden campaign. Here's more commentary from MSNBC on that very issue. Let's watch.
Meantime, there's Michael Steele, who is blameless in this conversation because in your wallet, you've got a Republican National Committee membership card, probably next to your Blockbuster card, and you already now have on your resume the Lincoln Project, one of several groups of lapsed, reformed, in some cases still are, Republicans who helped make this race what it is and what it may be if and when we get over 270. So Michael, take a well-deserved victory lap on the part of all these former leaders and strategists who got together and worked to push the other side.
This election should have been a layup for Biden. It was not. We still don't know what the results of the election is, and we are dealing with razor thin margins, and that is terrifying. Yeah. Again, look at the demographics. Look at how Biden actually increased his popularity and support from minority groups. It's unbelievable, and
Trump did.
I'm sorry, Trump did. I apologize. I misspoke, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Cenk, take it away.
Okay, victory lap. 93% of Republicans voted for Donald Trump. Where's the victory lap? Lincoln Project and all this attempts to go further right wing and to bring John Kasich into your convention, to bring dozens of Republicans into your convention, have more Republicans at your convention than progressives, and it was supposed to take away enough Republican votes that it was going to be, oh, you're going to be really surprised at how many Republicans don't vote for Trump. And at the time, Trump's popularity among Republicans had dipped to under 90% for the first time in a long time. It rose to 93%. Victory lap. No, but that's not news, that's propaganda. And that's not propaganda on behalf of Republicans on Fox News. That's propaganda on behalf of Republicans on MSNBC. And then Washington looks at MSNBC and goes, what a progressive channel. Everybody agrees, even the left wing agrees, Republicans are awesome and they should take a victory lap for Biden's win. And finally, I looked it up. McCaskill outraised Hawley by 4-1 and lost anyway. Whoa. And you know what her voting record was? She voted with the Republicans 47% of the time. What's the point of a Democratic senator if they're gonna vote with Republicans half the time anyway, and then gonna lose to a Republican by trying to be a Republican? Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.